Hi, I'm Dan Fazio with GI Jobs. Welcome to our Success After Service series. Today I'm talking with Rob Smith. He's the Senior Information Security Manager at USAA in San Antonio. Welcome, Rob.
Appreciate it. Great to be here.
So tell us about your role as the Manager of Senior Information Security. Did I get that right?
That's correct. So my role at USAA is I manage the vulnerability scanning and secure configuration scanning teams. So essentially, all of your vulnerability scanning, your security configurations in terms of making sure your assets are configured correctly, making sure there aren't any vulnerabilities on your assets. So I manage both of those teams.
Okay, is that just for USAA or is that included vendors? And
that's just for USAA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, and how many people are on your team?
So right now we've got 6 on my team.
Okay.
6 on my team. Normally we'd have 9, so I've got a couple that are in the hopper that I'm doing interviews for. So.
Okay. So eventually you'll get up to what, 9 or 10, or?
That's the hope, to get up to 9.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that certainly sounds like the definition of success to me. Considering how long you've been out in the military. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town in Louisiana called Oakdale, Louisiana. So it's probably about central Louisiana. Every time someone asks me about when I grew up in Louisiana, the first thing they say is New Orleans. It's like, no,
yeah.
There are other places in Louisiana than New Orleans and Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up in right dab in the middle of Louisiana.
Okay. And why did you enlist in the Air Force? Why not the Marines or the Coast Guard? Or
well, honestly, I had no intention of joining the military at all. Okay. So I had spent about 2.5 years in college down at LSU in Baton Rouge. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I just decided that that wasn't working for me. And so I said, well, I'll give the military a try. I talked to one of my uncles and he said, hey, you should join the Air Force. That's what I would have done. He kind of had the same route as I did. He started school for a couple of years and he said, that's what I would have done. And so I took his advice and checked it out.
Okay. So what were your jobs in the Air Force? You weren't always in the cybersecurity end of it.
No, I wasn't. So I've had 3 jobs in the Air Force. So my first one was I was a jet engine mechanic for heavy aircraft, C-5, C-130s, just taking engines apart, putting them back together. That's where I started, in the back shop, and eventually I did a little bit of time out on the flight line. From there, I did communications. So I was a system administrator. So I did my first 6 years as an aircraft mechanic, did about 8 years as a system administrator. And then I did my last 7 years in cyber warfare operations, doing offensive and defensive cyber.
Okay, well, that's a pretty big switch from, maintaining and fixing heavy aircraft engines to basically computer systems. Was that your choice, or did they ask you to do that, or what led to that shift?
So that was my choice. I think, actually, I think my time, not coming in straight out of high school, I was a little bit higher on the maturity scale there. So I recognized that the job that I was in was not a job that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so there was a thought, okay, well, what do I want to do, or where do I see myself more comfortable? And so that's kind of why of the jobs that were open, I chose communications. And then it was just a natural progression to go from being an administrator to being one who protects the systems and secures the system. So.
Mm-hmm. So when you decided it's time to retire, what was your exit plan?
Well, I think a lot of folks, when they get ready to retire, the first thing that, especially if you've gone on to some of the senior levels of leadership, you kind of want to take a step back from being as responsible for as many things as you possibly can. So my first thought was, what job can I do where I don't have to have as many individuals that I'm responsible for? And so one of the things that all of us do in the military, especially as leaders, is project management. you see projects through from the start to the end. So so that was my first. That's the first thing I did to prepare myself. I said, hey, let me go get my project management certification so that I can get out and try my hand at that on the other side.
Mhm. Okay. And when you got out, I guess I should ask you, how long before you separated or retired did you start your planning in earnest? I mean, really start to, you know,
Yeah, I'd say about a year.
a
About
year.
a year, yeah, because I learned about the DoD Skills Bridge program, and so I began to look around to see where can what companies can I do that program with,
Mhm.
which one would give me the opportunity to still be able to study for my PMP at the same time, uh,
Okay.
so that I can have that by the time that I actually retired.
So what company did you do the Skill Bridge program with?
So I did it with a contract company. They've changed their name quite a few times.
Hmm.
So they were Macaulay Brown, I believe, at the time. And so I was able to do some work with them. Luckily, I don't. I say luckily, but uh, there were just some issues with getting my clearance all taken care of because of how high it had to be, and which was weird because I already had the clearance in the military, but because I was, doing it in a different capacity, they had to redo everything. And so, well, that just gave me time to actually do all the studying that I needed to do to prepare for my certification. So everything all worked out as far as that was concerned.
Yeah. Well, as you were in that year leading up from when you started to prepare for your transition to when you actually got out, what was your biggest concern? I want to say fear, but what kept you up at night about this? It's a big change after what, 20 years, 21 years?
Yeah, yeah, I think uh, making sure I had a paycheck, right? That's the first thing, right? You don't want there to be this huge gap between, what you're getting paid in the military and then, the civilian sector. So I think that was the big piece of it there. And then this is a natural fear, right? It's something different. It's something new.
Yeah.
I was used to a certain culture for so long. And I understood where I was. I understood the military. So going to the civilian sector, I just wasn't sure that I was going to be able to, or that I understood how to navigate that world the same way that I could in the military.
Mhm. So after Skill Bridge program, and you got out, what'd you do then?
So actually, I actually got on at USAA fairly quickly. So I had intended to take a job offer with the Macaulay Brown company that I was working with at the time, and I just came across the USAA job, and I was like, well, I'm sure they don't hire managers, off the street like this. It's probably an internal thing, right? I mean, but I said, well, I'll just apply and we'll just see what happens. So that's kind of what happened from there. It was fairly quick. I mean, I
Okay.
retired in uh, 2019 of see, I started my skills bridge. I'm trying to think of when I started my skills bridge, but I know I started working fairly quick after I got out. So it was right at the end of my skill bridge time.
Okay. How well did your military experience and training in cybersecurity transfer to civilian sector?
Uh, Pretty much, one for one.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I think the reason being is because USAA is the culture, the values. They're pretty much the same as they were in the military. So it was not a hard transition for me. I understood all the different things that we were being taught in our new employees class when they talked about your core values, all those different things. I understood all of that stuff. And then as far as cybersecurity, it's cybersecurity everywhere.
Mhm.
No matter where you go, cybersecurity is the same.
Okay.
We may talk about different adversaries or different types of adversaries, but the platforms, the environment is the same.
Mhm. We talked about the cultural similarities between USAA and the military. I know, we talked to a lot of people who've made that transition, and that culture shock is real. It's can be hard sometimes. You miss that camaraderie that you had in the military. At the end of a corporate day, you go home and hang out with your coworkers typically, and so there's a big difference. Did you have any trouble with that?
I did not. So coming in to USA as a manager, you have an opportunity to imprint some things and bring some things with you. And so family is one of the things that I brought with me to USA. So my team and I, we enjoy being around each other and spending time with each other. So it wasn't something that I really lost.
Okay. So what do you love about cybersecurity? Obviously you chose to transfer it from the military to civilian world. You must enjoy it.
Yeah. I think it's kind of it's a chess match, right? At certain levels of it, it's a chess match, and so you have someone on one end that has a team of folks. They've got a game plan, and you have to have the same thing on the other end. I'm a huge sports fan, played sports my whole life, and so they're very similar in that respect. And so it challenges you to build good teams, to take on whoever's on the other side of the field. So it's kind of the same thing, right? You've got for us being on the defensive side, you got home field advantage. You got to understand, what your environment is like and different things like that. And so it's very analogous, and so that's really what I'm into. So.
Mhm. Seems like someone with your skills and experience would be in high demand. Is there a big demand, a growing demand for this career field?
Definitely. I mean, as long as technology has a play in our everyday lives, you're going to need someone to ensure that someone's not the integrity of that technology and the data that's in it. So I think like I said, as long as technology is around, you're going to need security folks.
Yeah. What if there's a service member or veteran who doesn't have that background and training, but are interested in it? Do they need to go to college, or can they get certified and get their foot in the door that way and do learn as they go? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I've seen it all. I've seen folks who did not have a degree and they were able to find opportunities through having, like you said, certifications and different things like that. Having a degree definitely helps. But just like a lot of jobs, it's about when you get there, they're going to teach you what they want you to know. They're going to show you what they want you to, how they do business there. But um, yeah, I mean, I've seen it both ways. But here at USA, I know they have programs where even if you're in a different career field, say you're working as a member service representative, there are different programs that you can take advantage of where you can get mentorship and also training if you want to go into things like cybersecurity. So there's opportunities there for even for folks who are just not in the field at all.
Mhm. What would your best piece of advice be for someone who decided, yeah, I'd like to learn cybersecurity and get into that field? It's such a growing demand for it.
My best advice would be number one, go for it. That's the first thing. Go for it. Have an open mind to learn. There's so much that you can learn on your own. I mean, because we all have computers in our homes. There's so much stuff that's out there on the internet. So much training that's out there that's free through YouTube, through LinkedIn, all over the place. And so those are all places to kind of get an understanding and a basic foundation of cybersecurity. So that's what I would say. It's just jump right in.
Good advice. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your journey and advice with us. Appreciate that.
And I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.